All right, we're here. It's the last day of the week of awesome. It's Christmas Eve. Hope you all had a great December thus far, and hope you all have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. If you don't celebrate Christmas, then God bless you with whatever holiday you celebrate, whether it be Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Happy Kwanzaa, Festivus for the rest of us, whatever it is you guys celebrate. I hope you celebrate it with all your heart, with your friends and your family and those who matter the most to you. I'm glad personally to see 2016 get the hell out of here. It was a terrible, terrible year for me. And I'm ready for 2017. I don't think we're going to be able to record a holiday special, a Christmas special that I wanted to. I thought about it 9 days before Christmas, about recording a Christmas special. So next year, we'll record a Christmas special. But you know what you can do if you want a little bit of awesome on your Christmas morning, your Christmas day, before you're waiting for Doctor Who to come on and watch that Christmas special on BBC America. Go over to Jeff Stormer's podcast, Party of One podcast. I was recently a guest for the second time, reprising my role as the Doctor. And we did a Christmas special. It was a lot of fun. Big thanks to Jeff. Love his podcast. It's been near and dear to my heart this year. And I got to play on it twice this year. It was so much fun. Anyway, we have one more episode this year. Next Wednesday, we go back to our regular schedule right here on awesomepodcast.com.
Just tell people they're awesome and mean it.
Awesome.
Did you have an awesome time? Did you drink awesome shooters and listen to awesome music and then just sit around and soak up each other's awesomeness?
Awesome.
That was awesome.
You guys are awesome.
No, you're awesome.
No, you are awesome.
Sir, you are awesome. Seriously.
Awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I am your host, Kev, and this is the show where we normally sit down and talk to awesome people about awesome things. But this week, hopefully it's recording dropping relatively close to what the subject matter is about. But this week, we're going with a different theme. For reasons, I haven't been recording podcasts. I'm sure I will talk about it in some episode of Everything is Awesome coming up here. But talking to the guy we're going to talk to today, normally we would talk about him, his podcast, and all that fun stuff. But instead, we met up to start recording and bring back my old podcast, the Zombcast, a Walking Dead, unofficial Walking Dead podcast. Got to keep that unofficial in there. We meshed right away. We both love that show. And randomly he sent me a message saying, "Hey, have you been keeping up with the CW crossovers Invasion?" I was like, "Oh boy, have I!" I guess this could be considered a bonus episode. It could be considered a special episode. This week we're doing Everything is Awesome Invasion. Podcasters versus aliens. And joining me is my co-host from the Zombcast, which you guys won't hear until 2017. But my co-host from the Zombcast, he's a podcaster in his own right with his own show. I still don't think we've actually confirmed his last name in the weeks that I've known him. Please welcome to the show from Saturday Detention and the Zombcast, Steve.
There is no last name. I'm like Madonna or Toto or that kind of thing.
Okay.
I'm out in Africa. I'm really pleased to be here today, man. We've had a great time when we've been talking on the Zombcast. And you just happened to name drop when we were doing the Zombcast a couple of things that you're keen on, like Doctor Who. You mentioned you like The Flash. So I just sent you the random message, and here I am talking zombies versus... Oh, no, sorry. It's not zombies, is it, at all?
No.
It's aliens versus heroes. Imagine that crossover. Zombies versus aliens versus heroes.
Oh, God. Well, I don't know if they'll do those three, but I'm sure we'll get zombies. We already had zombies on Legends.
Oh, we did? Yeah, but we weren't allowed to call them that.
Oh, we were. Oh, yes, because of Dr. Stein.
Professor Stein demanded that they not be called that. Maybe he's faced legal issues with a certain television company.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we didn't call them the W word. That's for sure. You don't want to. That's. I don't even think CW is what CBS and Warner. I don't think AMC plays a role in that at all.
No, but I'm looking forward to this in a mad way because this is a when I heard they started throwing around Invasion.
Yeah, I agree.
That was cool.
God, I hope we're gonna have. I can already tell we're gonna have some technical difficulties because one of us have been dropping in and out quite often. So we're gonna get through it, and I'm gonna send an email to our good friends at Zencaster to see what's up. But yeah, I'm ready to chat about the mega crossover with the CW's Arrowverse. Well, yeah, I guess I hate calling it the Arrowverse because it really isn't just Arrow. I mean, I feel like Arrow isn't even the staple of that universe anymore.
No, it's the Flash.
Yeah, totally, it's the Flash.
It's the Flash.
I'm keen on calling it the Berlantiverse because I think that's more accurate.
That's very cool. I do like that a lot.
Yeah, and but I do agree. Like to me, and now Arrow has been, I think, stellar. So before we get into the crossover, let's talk about each one of these shows just real quickly, and we'll start with I guess Arrow since that's the thing that kicked it all off. I think Arrow this year has actually been really good, much better than in years past. Last year, I should say.
See, I didn't get into Arrow until we started getting the crossovers with the Flash when we got the original Grant Gustin coming in just as Barry Allen before he even had any powers, which I thought was this great kind of mini pilot for the Flash. But before that, the problem we had is here in Australia, every episode had a advert that came before it claiming that this week we were going to learn the truth. We were going to learn the truth about what was going on with Oliver Queen's mother, the boat. But they advertised these shows terribly here in Australia.
Oh, okay.
We were going to learn the truth, and it wasn't a hero show. It was almost a slight step up from Bold and the Beautiful. And that's how it was advertised.
Yeah.
So until I got the hook of The Flash and I watched the first couple of episodes, and then I found I loved the supporting cast of Arrow.
Yes. Oh God, yes.
Now I'm sure that they're out there, but I've got to hit TMZ and see if I can find some bikini pictures of Felicity Smoke because she is amazing. She is my Berlantiverse crush. Love her.
Yeah, you can go right to her Instagram, and not that she's like she seems like she's a really candid person. She seems maybe opposite's not the right word than her character, but Emily Ricard or whatever. She is, based off her Instagram alone, she just seems like a really cool, down to earth person who likes to, I don't want to say party, but likes to have fun. And I
would like to meet her in real life.
Yeah, she and I would say, like, in all seriousness, she seems like a type of person who, now I don't want to, like, I know normally guys are like, oh, it's a girl, I want to, just see her naked or whatever. She seems like the type of girl who I would totally love to just like with Stephen Amell and Grant Gustin, like, I would just like to sit down and have a beer with. Like, it just seems like a totally cool, down to earth person.
See, she's got a certain amount of, she got moxie, got a certain amount of sass.
Yes.
And I imagine I'd order a beer and she may order like a double scotch or something like that. And all of a sudden I'm sitting there feeling very emasculated. But she was one of the characters that got me into Arrow more so than Stephen Amell.
Yeah, I started watching Arrow probably into its second season or so. I think it was in the middle of its second season and I started watching Arrow. I think Flash was introduced. Introduced the end of the second season, and that's why I started watching. I was like, well, they're going to do something here, so let me start watching. So I was able to binge watch the first season of Arrow on Netflix, and I just fell in love with it right away. And I really I love Stephen Amell. I think he's a great actor. I think he's another guy who just seems really down to earth. Someone that I would like to have a beer with. and he won me over as Oliver Queen compared to the. Now I loved Smallville, loved it, but the guy Jason Hartley, I believe his name was, that was playing Oliver there. He was good and all, and I guess I kind of for universe, like building that universe out sake, like I would love to have that guy as Arrow to include Smallville in this universe, but in the Berlantiverse. But I totally love Stephen Amell. I think he crushes it. The much more serious tone that season 1 had, I really dug. And honestly,
Jason Hartley wouldn't have been able to pull that off.
No, not at all. He was too campy. He was like a campy version of Ollie.
Yeah.
Compared to Stephen Amell.
Yeah.
And last year, season 4 was the first year where I started to admit, well, this show's getting a little like there's something wrong with this show. And I usually will take shows, I'll ride them into the sunset no matter how bad they get. As long as it's entertaining is usually all I care about. But it got to the point where I was like, wow, I mean, I'm not turning it off, but I can see why people hate this right now.
I'm with you 100% there, man, because I do have to give full credit to the people running Arrow, though, is you can jump in with Arrow at whichever season you need to. If you've started watching The Flash, you can jump in with Arrow the season that Flash started. And you can use it as kind of a bit of a like you said before, like a universe building kind of show. So it gives a bit of extra taste to The Flash. Everything's not happening in just one city. And then you get your season 8 crossovers, which is probably the precursor for what we're going to be talking about today, where you've had The Flash and Arrow crossover a couple of times.
Yes, yeah, and I mean those were like cool little things because it was like, oh great, like these two shows, this universe that we have of two shows is crossing over. It's neat. It's no sweat off their back. It's not a huge thing. And then last year during the second season of The Flash, and the fourth season of Arrow, you get introduced to two more shows in the Berlantiverse. You get Legends. And you get Supergirl. And I'm purposely saving Flash for I think last to talk about because I want to. I think it's great. But Legends, we'll go to Legends next. Legends, is better than season 4 of Arrow, I think. And it's on par. Like so far, it's on par with Arrow this year. Like if I had to rate them, it would probably go, Flash and Supergirl tied as like my favorite Berlantiverse show, and then Arrow and Legends tied as my second favorite Berlantiverse show.
See, I'll hold off on Supergirl for the moment because this crossover is really my first big introduction to Supergirl as played in this Berlantiverse because I've seen the pilot for Supergirl. Okay. That's it. Then my first experience coming back into Supergirl was the first episode of this crossover. But I will tell you, I love Legends of Tomorrow. I'm an old school DC guy. This is one of the reasons we're talking about this because, and I'll do full disclosure right now. Invasion is one of my all-time favorite crossover events.
Oh boy.
Okay. So we're going to be getting knee deep into some geek ass shit right here, man.
And I'm going to get schooled because I'm not a big DC person. Like I didn't start reading DC until about 2 or 3 years ago with Scott Snyder taking over Batman during the New 52. That was my first and only DC title that I have ever read.
And if you're going to pick one, you did well.
Yes, yeah. Well, and I mean, God, Scott Snyder. I mean, I the only reason I haven't gone on to read any of his other things, even within the DC universe, is just because me buying comics is like Jason Mewes, doing drugs. Like it's just not a good thing. It's bad. It's an issue.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I take it to the nth degree.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really see even with the Marvel stuff. Like I know Marvel's comic history a little bit more than most people. I definitely know it more than I know my DC comic history. But I don't ever really try to let that play a factor into anything else when they adapt it. And I think you and I maybe chatted about Civil War at some point during the Zombcast. But even especially for Civil War, because for your invasion is my Civil War. Like that is my all-time favorite crossover event.
I was at the perfect age for when Invasions came out. There'd been no Star Wars for a little while. This thing fed my need for some kind of fantastic science fiction thing that I could delve into, and there were the crossovers, and there were the spin-offs, and then there was, you had comic books coming out from it because of the fact that, Invasion did well, so they spun a couple of team books out from it.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I don't just intend to school you. I intend to take you through through middle school, upper school, university, and then out into the real world.
Very cool. Very cool.
I'm there for you. But that's one of the reasons I love Legends. Legends taps into this thing I love about Invasion, which is you've got a team of people that have come together, and you've got an ensemble going on. You get to see the lesser of the characters, and you get to see them really shine.
Yeah. No, and when they first announced Legends, before this major crossover we just had, I was like, wow, like they didn't beat Marvel, but they beat DC to the punch. Like they beat their own brands in the movie world to the punch of forming a team. And it was just, I love that show for time travel. I love that show for Rip Hunter, and not because I should rephrase that.
I'm
for
from
Arthur
East
DeVille.
London.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love Arthur DeVille.
I loved him from Doctor Who previously.
Exactly, me too. So, and it was just and actually, now that I think about it, like the whole Berlantiverse has cherry picked Doctor Who. You got the face of Bo, John Barrowman, Captain Jack. That's the name I was looking for.
I love that you name dropped him at the face of Bo. There's that one little line where it goes, and instead of calling him Captain Jack Harkness, you've gone for the face of Bo. Well done, my friend. Well done.
Well, and you know what? He posted a picture on Twitter today of him, and I don't think it's his husband. I think it's his business partner or something. They went to BBC to pitch something, and he purposely took the photo so that in the background you saw the TARDIS. So I'm praying to God. He's been talking about wanting to bring Captain Jack back. And I mean, God, we could do a whole episode on Doctor Who, or we could do a whole episode on Torchwood alone. I loved Torchwood.
All you've thrown into my mind there is something which I haven't thought about, is Captain Jack and Peter Capaldi. And how impatient would Peter Capaldi's Doctor be with Captain Jack?
Yeah.
I
always wanted to see Captain Jack and Matt Smith's Doctor because Matt Smith's Doctor, the 11th Doctor, was super awkward when it came to anyone kind of flirting with him.
I was about to say, and Captain Jack would have fallen in love head over heels with Matt Smith.
Yes. It would have been such an awesome... I would love... I said this about after the 50th anniversary. We're going way off topic, but I said this with the 50th anniversary, that bring back David Tennant once a year. Just bring him back once a year in a side story that has nothing to do with the main storyline. I just want to see an annual story that takes place during the time of the 10th Doctor's run, because David Tennant's my Doctor. But do that with Matt Smith too. Like, do it with them all.
Can I tell you how close we are with thoughts? I have exactly the same thing, but what I want is I want them to do that with the Paul McGann Doctor.
Oh,
there is so much time to fill with Paul McGann.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Why can we not just get a web series or one season where Doctor Who comes back, and it's not the current Doctor, but we get a season of Paul McGann?
I would love it. And we saw during the 50th anniversary special, like, we got those little nuggets of him in the little, I don't want to call them webisodes, but basically webisodes.
When we came back with the Night of the Doctor.
Yes.
Oh, when he stepped onto screen and said, "Not the Doctor you're expecting,"
Yeah.
I screamed like a small child.
Yes.
I was like, "Oh my God!" You know,
it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
So what we'd like to do right now is we'd like to welcome you to the Doctor Who episode that Kev and I are doing.
Yeah, we're gonna steer it back to Invasion.
And Arthur Darville's the guy to bring us back to that.
Yes,
He's Rip Hunter, amazing.
Yes, yeah,
love him.
And I love I love that there's another time ship or time space time machine, that's the word. There's another time machine that I can look to as like, yo, that'd be pretty cool, that'd be pretty dope to be in. Like, I think my all-time favorite time machine is still the DeLorean, but the Wave Rider has jumped up there as like my second favorite. It ranks up there with I would say it may be my favorite. It's it probably still ranks as my second favorite spaceship behind.
Well, you know where the Wave Rider name comes from, don't you?
No, I do not.
Well, the Wave Rider. Allow me to begin our lessons in schooling you, sir. So, the Wave Rider is actually a character who was invented by DC during Armageddon 2001, during their annual crossover. And he was a time traveller who was coming from the year 2001 in the very, very distant future, 2001. And he was trying to find out which hero became the arch-villain Monarch. Okay. So the Wave Rider, just the name, is steeped in DC history. Because he is actually a time-travelling character. So when they announced that the ship was being called Wave Rider, I absolutely lost my shit.
Okay.
So it is the name Wave Rider itself, apart from being very cool, is very significant to a DC TV show.
Yeah, and that's what the whole Berlantiverse does well. Like, they sprinkle in all this stuff that just gets the real, like, some of it gets me because I do know some of the Easter eggs, but it gets all the real true DC comic book fans. It gets them wet because they just love those Easter eggs that, like, I mean, I wouldn't have known that at all. So, that kind of stuff is awesome.
Mate, I'm not just wet when this kind of thing happens. I'm saturated.
And what I really do love about what the Berlanti and Kreisberg do is that they purposely weave little things in here and there. Nothing that the network's going to notice or say, no, you can't have that. So that when they say, hey, we want to introduce Ra's al Ghul and the Lazarus Pit, that makes this guy live forever, they can't say no, because a season ago they started talking about the assassins and whatever, I forget the name of the city that they were all at to train, but like they introduced all these little nuggets of information that now that we have all this information out there, like, we have to do it, CW. We can't not do it. The fans are expecting it now.
Well, do you think that this is why nuggets are being dropped? Like, for instance, in the first season of Flash, when they were testing Barry's powers, they were doing it at Ferris Aircraft. Now, that is where Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, is a test pilot. They've already been dropping nuggets all over the place that Hal Jordan, maybe not the Green Lantern, but Hal Jordan has to exist in this universe.
Yeah, well, I've said from once they introduced the Flash, I said that, and I was wrong on my timing, but I only assume that they're eventually going to let the Green Lantern come in. If they're letting Superman in on the Berlantiverse, which expands the multiverse, if they're letting Superman in on the fun, there's no reason that Green Lantern can't have a similar role where he doesn't get his own show maybe, but he gets little special guest spots here and there for big things like Invasion or for big singular storylines like, whatever, in Arrow or in Flash or Legends or anything like that.
Yeah, I can't see it not happening. Also because these guys, and I'm sure we'll touch on it at some point, especially with the ratings that came in for these crossover episodes, compared to what a normal episode of, say, Legends would have, they are going to be able to turn around and say, how would you like this to be even bigger next year? Yeah. Well, we've got the crossover in mind, and what if that launches us into a Green Lantern TV show or just brings him into the universe? Do you think that, honestly, at the moment, no one is going to say no to these guys?
I don't think there's... I think the only thing that the Berlanti and Kreisberg could say that CW would say no to is Batman. I think that is the only thing that's off limits.
And I think that you're right, and I think they were aware of that, and that's why Ra's al Ghul has been brought in as an Arrow character.
Yeah. No, totally. And I do think that at some point in the Berlanti universe, they will let them play with Batman in some fashion. Whether it's as... I mean, they've already dropped that Earth 2. There is a Bruce Wayne. They dropped that little hint on Flash's phone that he had at his house.
Clark, Diana, Hal, Bruce. And the last one was Mum.
Yes. Yeah, which is a little messed up. But it goes to show you that the Barry of Earth 2, he doesn't appreciate his mom as much as Barry Prime because he's had her his entire life.
I tell you what, though, they know how to sprinkle Mum into that universe, because anytime she pops up, I burst into tears. It's like when he had that telephone conversation with him, and for half of it he couldn't speak because his hand was over his mouth. Yeah. You know, when he saved her and he has to not save her, and then he saves her again, and then he's just like, it's Mum's been dead for 30 years and she's still screwing with his head.
Yeah, and he is reliving it multiple times.
And it's just...
The Supergirl Earth 38, we find out that Earth more than likely also has a Batman, because Supergirl drops a hint about her cousin dealing with masked vigilantes, or working with masked vigilantes. So I'm pretty positive that in the multiverse of the Berlantiverse, there is a Batman. I believe that they've fully made reference to the fact that Batman, not just Bruce Wayne, exists at least in one of them, Earth 38. Maybe in Earth 2, it's just Bruce, no Batman. Yeah, but there's those characters exist within the multiverse. So I don't think it's out of the question to see them at some point.
One of the things I will always love these guys for is... they must have known from the pilot episode of The Flash that they were going to eventually, at some stage, put John Wesley Shipp back in the Flash outfit. Now, when he stood there in the Earth 2 traditional Jay Garrick outfit, again, you mentioned getting wet over these things. Mm-hmm. I was in a tropical rainstorm. Yeah. At that point. That was insane.
There is no way that they did not start this show and say, if we get to season 2, we're going to start setting that up. We're going to start setting this up. I think it was in season 2. Maybe it was even in season 1. I think it's season 1, the season finale of season 1, when he's running through the
the multiverse.
Yeah, the multiverse.
And they threw back to the 1990s Flash.
Yeah. It's not even like he just assumes he's running through time, but he's actually seeing the multiverse, and he sees.
So the 90s Snow, Flash exists Frost, in that universe.
Original Flash.
Oh, yes. How good was that? Oh, man. Yeah. You know what? We haven't even started talking about Invasion yet.
I know.
And we are just, everything we talk about touches on something else, which is a testament to these shows. There are so many threads you can pull.
Well, and I mean, I would say pretty consistently, I or both of us have both been going back to Flash, and for me, I think you know we said it in the beginning of the show. I think Flash is really the core show of the Arrowverse, as it was once called, the Berlantiverse. I think Flash is everything. They do everything right, and I loved. It took Supergirl maybe 3 or 4 episodes to really find its footing over on CBS in that first season, at least CBS for America. Did you only watch the pilot because you hated it, or only watch the pilot because that's what was available to you?
You know what, man? We're living in this golden age of television. There is so much at the moment, not just for a comic book nerd, there is so much out there to watch right now. Yeah. It's why it's so difficult at the moment to just talk about The Flash or Arrow or Supergirl or Legends or Ash versus the Evil Dead or the show with the zombies in it. I learned from the Zombcast, man, what I can and can't say. There's too much good stuff on, and don't get me wrong, I love my wife, I love my kids, I love my family. But if I could be 18 years old with all of this television on, I would have enough time to watch it all.
Yeah.
But it is an insane time for television at the moment. I've got Daredevil, I've got Jessica Jones, I've got Luke Cage, I've got Iron Fist coming up. I'm living in a world that I dreamt of when I was an 18-year-old with expendable income collecting comic books.
Yeah.
You know, and my question isn't what comic do I collect, it's what streaming service do I subscribe to?
Yeah, totally.
You know, because I'm going to miss one of them. Yeah. And that's the reason why I haven't watched all of Supergirl, is because I watched the first episode, I enjoyed it, but I had so much stuff that I was already in the middle of. Mm-hmm. And I know that, and I blame, and not to get political, but this is something that I want to have a chat with about something that's going on in America. Okay? The rest of the world isn't happy with you right now, man.
I don't think we're happy with ourselves.
No one appreciates mid-season breaks. Okay? Now, I don't mean to get political. I don't mean to get into this. But when you're feeding me 8 episodes and then making me wait 3 months before the next, I'm sorry. It is not right. You guys are only thinking of yourselves and not the rest of us.
You know what? Here's my defense for that. It all goes back to Lost, the good seasons of Lost, when they would have, all right, we're going to air 8 episodes, and then we're going to have a week off and then air an episode, and then have 2 weeks off and air an episode or 2, and then have another 3 weeks off and air. So it was all that, like, what's your schedule? Pick one. Like, it was, I hated the on and off, because I didn't know what week to watch and what week not to watch. So having it set up to where, for the most part, it's a block of 8 and then a block of probably the next 16 or 14 or whatever. I dig it. It sucks because right now, after the that W show is over on AMC, we do have a block of a couple months before anything comes back. And there's some shows that might come on that will catch my interest, but that I'll probably use that time to, like, all right, I want to go and watch a couple Netflix shows or whatever.
I understand what you're saying. I don't forgive you for it. Not in the slightest.
Fair enough.
I can understand you, but because the thing is you guys over there all know about your mid-season break.
Yes.
All of a sudden, we turn on the TV over here one week, and there's no Flash, there's no Blunt Talk, there's no Ash versus the Evil Dead, there's nothing. Yes. But I can watch 13 episodes of Doctor Who, one after the other each week. Mm-hmm. It's just, I'm just putting it out there. As I said, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to get political.
I get it, but definitely coming from the world of like how TV was about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, where we had this unreliable schedule, I totally dig the winter break. And it gives an opportunity for me to just kind of go a different direction or whatever. I defend it. I support it, and I guess we'll end the political talk there.
Yeah. As I said, I can understand your opinion. I don't have to be on board with it.
I think that the reason Supergirl to me is right up there with Flash is they're so similar in tone. The Flash, Kreisberg has said that they go by they have a 3 rule, 3 H's: heart, heroics, and something else. I forget what the third H is, but they have these 3 rules that they follow, and as long as the show has equal parts of those 3 things, they know they have something good.
Oh, that's bullshit, man. Because I tell you right now, sometimes Flash puts more heart into it than it does anything else because it deliberately wants to turn me into a blubbering fool.
I agree. I think that they, for the most part, they do inflate the heart more than anything else.
Yeah.
But I feel like Supergirl kind of follows, or maybe at least unofficially follows that same rule, because it's very similar in tone. It is why you could bring the Flash over to CBS in season 1 and cross it over that way, because people who were watching Supergirl who had no idea what Flash and Arrow and Legends was, they could say, oh well, Flash, he's obviously another superhero. They've been saying that he's from this other network, but he fits, like he fits in this world. He's a funny guy. It's light. It's not dark like Arrow, or even, I don't think Legends is completely dark, but it's definitely not as light and fluffy, and that's not a bad thing as Flash or Supergirl.
Well, let's use Supergirl then, because you're the guy who's watched it, and my real first big foray into Supergirl is this crossover. So Can I use this to launch us into our invasion discussion, because
Perfect.
Supergirl is the first episode?
Yes.
Right.
And I just want to say, I want to say one thing about Supergirl Medusa, the episode that kicked us off. As a episode of Supergirl, as the winter finale for Supergirl, it was a wonderful episode. It was really good. I enjoyed
You've
it
already
from top
seen
to
the
bottom.
writing on the wall with this, my friend.
But
You've leapt in and you're putting up the barriers before I can even start.
but as a crossover episode, it wasn't. All it did was bring in Cisco and Barry, and truth be told, like, I went and looked at my notes. I pulled some notes for tonight, and if you pull up the episodes that were from the Invasion week, Supergirl has its own Wikipedia entry as Medusa Supergirl. If you go to any of the Wikipedias for Flash, Arrow, or Legends and click on their Invasion episode, it takes you to the same Wikipedia entry, Invasion Arrowverse, aka Berlantiverse. So even the world views it as it not really being part of the Invasion crossover.
Now, I understand completely and totally why you've jumped in and defended one of your favourite shows. Now, my first note for Supergirl Medusa. Now, let me point out, it is the only one of the episodes not called Invasion.
Correct.
The other ones are called Invasion. This episode was a complete and total waste of my time. This is what I describe as, I don't know how familiar you are with Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I'm not at all.
Okay, what they did with that is when the crisis hit, one of the key things that was visually there was the skies would turn red, and that's how you knew that the crisis had commenced. Many issues of DC Comics had the big splash over the top crisis crossover part 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it may be. And the entirety of the crossover was on the last page. You would see the skies turn red. this, for me, this episode was the last page crossover. I sat through all of this bullshit and all of this lady who did the voiceover from Desperate Housewives as a Luther that I have no idea about Lena Luthor and name-dropping Lex and name-dropping Clark and all of this kind of thing, just in the last couple of minutes to see Cisco and Barry come flying in and go, "We need your help." This was, as far as the crossover goes, 45 minutes of complete and total wasted time. It was unneeded. And the worst thing is during the Flash episode, we got a recap of the last 2 minutes of Supergirl.
Yep.
Now, I don't mean to sound damning to a show that you obviously have an affection for, but how fucking dare they do this to me?
I think I understand why they did it, because they are still kind of treating Supergirl as its own show outside of the Berlantiverse, much like it was on CBS. On CBS, the only connection it had was Flash coming to them from another universe, from the multiverse, and it never really spoke of it again. And in season 2, they're seemingly doing that. I'm hoping now that we see, and this is spoilers for like the end of Invasion, but Supergirl gets a little basically portable teleporter to so that she can talk to and come visit all her friends in Earth Prime. And I'm hoping that the rest of Supergirl season 2 here, we see more interaction. Pretty sure there's going to be a music episode, like a musical episode where Flash comes to Supergirl,
Like the Buffy thing.
Yeah. I actually think there's a villain that makes everyone sing, and I guess now that we know she has this little transponder thing, she's gonna call Flash in. Anyway, that's something that we don't know. Like I have nothing. I just know that that's happening.
Now I made a bunch of
notes. As a crossover episode, I will agree that this sucked.
I have a bunch of notes written all over this pad that I keep next to my computer as I'm watching this. As you go along, they start off nice and neat. Supergirl, not watching this show, interested to see what happens. Then I've got things such as Monel ? Helen Slater, glad to see she's working again. Helen Slater with the Supergirl from the 1980s movie, and she is Supergirl's mum.
Yes.
Now, slowly they become the scrawlings of an erratic man to the point where I can't read what my last comment is, but at one point I've written 30 minutes in, get a move on. Am I going to be seeing red skies? Again, that's me doing a Crisis reference. And then after that, I've obviously fallen into complete disarray. And I'm completely, obviously, ropeable at this point that I've sat down. Now, I have written at one point, the episode wasn't a complete loss. I would like to see more of Supergirl's thighs. She has the most amazing thighs of anyone on television. I can see why they picked this girl to be in a short dress and long boots. She is a Nancy Sinatra, these boots are made for walking, brought to life. And that is where I'm at the end of Supergirl. I find Supergirl as a character, as a show, and as a crossover to be a complete waste of time.
It was, as a crossover, a waste of time. I 100% agree. But as a person who watches it week to week, it definitely fits into the story. A little silly that they had the scene repeated in Flash. I think they could have probably saved maybe about 30 to 45 seconds and or maybe even a full minute, and just cut to Cisco and Barry jumping in the portal to go get Supergirl, and then cutting to them jumping back. I don't think they actually had to re-show the scene of them seeing Supergirl again.
They could have saved an entire 45 minutes and never aired this episode.
Well, they were going to air the episode regardless. I don't think it was fair to call it a 4-part crossover. I think,
and label this as part 1.
Yeah. I don't think that was fair. I think that's inappropriate because it really is. It is its own standalone story. With throughout the episode, the little, I think maybe 2 or 3 times before Barry actually shows up, you see the portal open up. I really, really think what they should have done to fully incorporate it as part of the crossover was have
rewrite it,
because well, I'm kind of going to rewrite it now is because so if you really go back to Flash and think about it, they didn't spend days looking for Supergirl and Flash. The way I felt in Flash is it took them about 15 minutes to find Supergirl.
Yeah.
But in Supergirl's episode, it was the course of a couple days. From what I can tell, because Thanksgiving night the portal opens,
and it felt like a couple of days,
and that portal closes, and then it opens again at night on a different day, and that portal closes, and then it's daylight at some point at the end of the episode, and that portal opens, and finally they come out. So clearly the time was moving differently when they were trying to get Supergirl. I think what they should have done is pop in, fall on that Thanksgiving table, make a little bit of a ruckus, and they should have had an episode of Flash and Cisco helping Supergirl with Cyborg Superman and Cadmus in this episode. Just it still would not have been the Invasion crossover, but at least you as maybe a casual fan, you as a fan of the rest of the Arrow Berlantiverse, you would have maybe enjoyed it more had Flash been in the entire episode. And I think I don't think it would have hurt Medusa at all. I don't think it would have hurt that episode. I think it probably would have made it better for, like I said, for the casual fan. And I think the fan like me would have just been like, cool.
See, what disappointed me was they had something in there that I thought was going to be a link into Invasion, was this alien virus. That obviously, I by the end of the episode, I came to the knowledge that this was something that the Luthors had been working on and Cadmus had been working on, the no aliens kind of thing. I thought that the fact that the Luthors were trying to, and Cadmus were trying to destroy all of the aliens on Earth, is what was going to lead the Dominators to actually coming to Earth to wipe out the metahumans. I thought that was going to be the link, because you're wiping out the aliens that are currently on Earth, and an alliance of aliens forms, which is one of the things which I will mention as a drawback of this episode, is the original Invasion comic book wasn't just the Dominators. It was a massive alliance of aliens from the DC universe that came to Earth.
Oh, interesting.
With a specific purpose. Now, they had built into this episode a perfect lead for the Dominators and all the other aliens to be coming to Earth, because we're trying to wipe them out on our planet. And then it just turned out that was a wrap-up for a whole bunch of episodes I'd never seen. Now, one thing I do want to ask, because one thing did pique my interest with this show, is I haven't seen them yet, but I know that they're a 3 or 4 part Superman story arc at the beginning of season 2.
Yes, there is a 3 or 4 episode story arc with the guy from Teen Wolf playing Superman. He actually crushes it. My only complaint is that for a guy who is supposed to be, let's say, probably at least 10 years older than Supergirl. Is they look about the same age. Now they do have a like one-off piece of dialogue that explains it. But that's my only complaint. I love he's more in line with every other Superman but Zack Snyder's Superman that we've seen. Like he's
who's
not
Superman?
super serious. Zack Snyder's Superman, the
Sorry,
Henry Cavill.
Never heard of him. Can't say I've. Can't say. Are you talking about Brandon Routh?
No. Even he's more in line with Brandon Routh. That little picture called Man of Steel that where everyone where he breaks every rule that Superman would break. Yeah, that one.
I'm not aware.
Yeah, I wish I wasn't aware of that. Trust me.
Now, the reason I bring that up is I'm very curious. You've got a cyborg Superman in this show. Yes. Now, is he linked to Superman in the same way as in the comic books? Does Superman at some point die? And this character is linked to him that way, or is this like a DNA kind of crossover kind of thing?
No,
or just in name only.
It's basically in name only. The character is actually so you watched Medusa. So Hank Henshaw is actually the Martian Manhunter.
Yeah. Now, which one is the real Hank Henshaw? Is Hank Henshaw around before John Jones comes to Earth, and he assumes the identity?
Yes, so Hank Henshaw, the real Hank Henshaw, is Cyborg Superman.
Yeah, and that's the way it is in the comics as well.
Okay. But Hank Henshaw has no. The only history he has with Superman, from if I had to guess, is that he hates aliens. When the real Hank Henshaw was in charge of the DEO, they were, it was about eliminating aliens.
Right, okay.
And it's explained in a season 1 episode, but there's an episode where Dean Cain, he's working for the DEO. There's like a
whoa, don't do that. Did you just name drop Dean Cain is in Supergirl?
Yes, he is. He is the adopted father of Supergirl. He is a Danvers. I forget his first name.
So he's a Danvers.
He is. He's Kara and her sister's father.
Oh, I've got to go back just to see Dean Cain.
Yeah, well, now he's not in it much.
Well, he needs to be in it more.
Season 1, he probably only has, I think, 2 episodes that he appears in, and in season 2 so far, he probably had his meatiest role in this series. In the episode, or maybe 2 episodes prior to this episode.
That is very cool.
So you've
got Superman and Supergirl. Supergirl's parents.
Yep. Berlanti does real good with that kind of stuff.
Love that.
So it's explained in an episode. It's Martian Manhunter who the real Hank Henshaw and Dean Cain are chasing, and Hank Henshaw, I think, falls or something off the side of a cliff and is presumed dead. And Dean Cain is also presumably dying, and he asked Hank Henshaw to take care of his girls. Or he asked Martian Manhunter to take care of his girls. So Martian Manhunter then takes on the identity of Hank Henshaw and runs the DEO, still protecting Earth from an alien threat, but without the idea of let's eliminate all aliens.
Right. Very cool.
And so that's where Cyborg Superman comes in. Is no relation whatsoever to Supergirl or Superman. Is purely just linked to Martian Manhunter. Though they do something cool in an episode where he uses Supergirl's blood to get into the Fortress of Solitude and get information about the Medusa virus.
I saw that in the flashback that they had at the beginning.
This episode.
They had that at the beginning. Now, in that case, why isn't he the cyborg Martian Manhunter?
I mean, I agree. I mean, I think it's. I don't know if I would go Cyborg Martian Manhunter, but I do not like Cyborg Superman as his name.
Okay.
But and honestly, like we'll see. He clearly is going to be back for another episode at some point this season, because he left by the end of the episode here. But yeah, I mean, I would say it's hard for you need to jump in probably at least the beginning of season 2. I don't think you need to watch Super 1 of Supergirl to really appreciate how good it is or appreciate what's going on. 8 episodes in at Medusa. I think you can start from season 2, episode 1. But there's a lot of good episodes. Here's what Berlanti and Kreisberg do with this show. They take a lot of awesome Superman stories and adapt them for Supergirl. The next episode of Supergirl we're going to get is in January. It's the episode directed by Kevin Smith, and it's called Supergirl Lives, a nod to the script Kevin Smith worked on called Superman Lives.
Oh, man, I not long ago just watched the documentary Whatever Happened to Superman Lives.
Did I watch the whole? I don't know if I watched the whole documentary, but I watched at least a big chunk of it, if not all of it, and it's so good.
If you watch that and you want to talk Kevin Smith / Superman / Nicolas Cage, I'm in.
Yeah. Well, there's a rumor going around that someone asked Kevin Smith if DC has the tendency to take some old scripts laying around and turn them into animated flicks. Would you love to see Superman Lives come to life as an animated movie? And he said he's all in for it. Whether he's involved or not, you get Nick Cage to voice to voice Superman. You get they wanted not Kevin Spacey. Who did they want for Lex Luthor? Oh my God,
His Lex Luthor zombie show reference is Michael Rooker.
Yes, and he wants Rooker to voice Lex Luthor in that animated film. He wants basically them to use the same cast as voice actors, and I'd watch the hell out of that movie.
Superman is my character. Out of everything, out of comic books, movies, TV, I will go to Superman every single time. We've got an episode of our podcast where for an hour and a half I defend Superman 4. Even to the point where I explain how he was able to fly people into space and have them not crush and suffocate. And my co-host had to concede that I was correct. That's how much I will defend.
Do you defend Man of Steel?
I'm unfamiliar with that term.
Fair enough.
You mean the John Byrne 1986 comic book? Oh, loved it. Yes. Loved it.
All right,
we can do a whole Superman episode where I just deny the existence of certain things if we need to.
I think we can put a bow on Supergirl unless you have anything else in your notes.
No. Basically, I've got 3 episodes. The whole episode was a waste of time. We get the Barry Sisko in same scene in the Flash episode, and I would term this as a last page crossover issue.
And I would say that it's a great Supergirl episode. If you're watching Supergirl, you can watch it. And as part of the crossover, I will admit that it is a crappy crossover episode.
All right, we're going to end it right there. And just like the CW, we're going to call this part one of the Invasion episode. But it really isn't. We're going to end the week of awesome with our faux Invasion episode. And then on the 28th, we'll be back with not the 20th, the 30th. We'll be back with part 2 of our Invasion episode where we talk Flash. We talk Arrow, we talk Legends. I'll be back with Steve to finish that conversation. What a great convo. Make sure you check out his podcast, the Saturday Detention podcast. Man, we're almost done. We're almost out of this godforsaken year, this 2016. Fuck this year. Right here. We'll catch you next week. Right here on Everything is Awesome, awesomepodcast.com. We've been awesome.